Hi, we are back. I will wait for people to connect and we can get tucked into the aspects of the astrology. Now, those of you who don't know, hello, Shelley, when you do get over here. Went to bed the other night and I had the pen in my hair. That's where our energies are. It's like, and that really is the whole Neptune frequency coming through of where our heads are. Like, I'm just going to say it, where our heads at now. I was gracefully waiting for the Leo King to go live, because we need to let the man have the stage. But, I tend to try and do my aspect of it first. And then obviously I hear everybody else's collective energy of what they're picking up. Now, as a psychic medium, those of you who are, you're very warm welcome. Yes, I'm looking a little bit batshit crazy, but that's because we are collectively feeling that at the moment. Now, what I do tend to find is I tend to get downloads probably the month before, moving into it, becoming heavier in frequency. It's an interesting way of receiving downloads, and there's been a lot of signs and synchronicities, with the energy of, how do I put it, song synchronicities, numerology, and it's repeating patterns. And, the format of the readings I've changed, and that's due to the downloads I've got. Now, Shelley and I probably for the last few hours have been going over the astrological aspects, and the more in tune to it, I kind of do it from two paradigms. Obviously from an energetic way in which I'm sensing kind of planets and their influence on my frequency and what's coming through from the collective when I'm meditating on it. A lot of what is going on is going to feel pretty crappy. But this very much, as I've mentioned in the other videos, is going to be testing times. But there's a lot of old energies coming up, okay? So it's not that it's kind of an oxymoron. Negative equals positive. It's a bit like the yin and the yang. And the shifts that are coming up in me personally and with my clientele, and especially working with Luciana, Giggle, my friendships, and Carmen, and all the meditation that we've been doing, it has been quite collectively resourceful as well as the astrology. Probably from the 1st through to the 5th, there will be a void around the 5th. So you're not going to quite feel quite normal. Things might not make sense. But the interesting energy is Mercury is conjuncting, which is working together with Neptune. Now, you look at the Neptune frequency. Mercury is the aspect of our physical movement, the bigger picture, the movement forward, the communication aspect. Neptune is delusions, illusions, and, all those can be seismic activity as well, but it's working with it at this point. So it's a calm to speak before the storm, but it's looking at those areas of what is real and what's not, and a lot of that communication can be coming up. There may be a pause in meditation around the 5th, and again, we are having different energies come in, which we forward dated with the sun and the moon frequencies. Obviously, the sun is going to be in Aries. The moon, its highest peaks, and it was interesting because even Shelley was picking up, and I did last month, and I kept mentioning the Libra moon. Thank you. So this moon is going to be very unique. Now, on some charts, it deems it as 29 degrees. What I am noticing is the transition between 8 degrees and 24 degrees is happening within 48 hours to 24. It's happening very quickly. Being a full moon, directly connected to feminine energy, our intuition, being in Libran frequency, we've already transited through the Libran aspect last month. Now, it was at 0 degrees, which denotes endings. And I did mention that moving forward, it's that end cycle point of moving through, and generally the higher in the degree it goes, it tends to look a little bit messier. So with the Neptune frequency coming through with Mercury, there can be talks about what isn't balanced. What you energetically are feeling doesn't look reality in the 3D, and it's sort of like the manifestation energy is like, okay, I need to know what I'm investing in here, and what I'm seeing on a path pattern and what I'm sensing, it's not quite matching. There's illusions, and it can be, how would you explain it? You're looking at, I forgot where I put it now. You're looking at the aspect of the movement forward. It also does correlate with the frequency in numerology for Neptune as number 7. And I had mentioned it, that 7 this month was going to be quite important. So we do need to keep an eye on the Neptune frequency. There are a few aspects we need to look at. Obviously, the new moon is going to be in Aries, and that is going to be on the 5th, and it's going to be at 15 degrees. We also have Chiron in Aries. We have a lot of planets at the moment in Aries, which again, you know, especially in a trigger point, one can look at it as you've got to look at the lower frequency of it. You know, yes, okay, if you're ascended, and we all have ascended, so to speak, but what we're kind of doing at the moment is being very critical towards ourselves, very psychoanalytical, very 3D of, well, okay, have I done enough work? Energetically, why have I not reaped what I've sowed? Where is this harvest? What is my spiritual quest, and how am I going to get there? It can be a lot of purging connected to your solar plexus, your sacral chakra, your base chakra, and your heart chakra. So in a pain body experience, which is what I've been experiencing, it's a lot of dynamics correlating with feminine frequency with the nodes being in Cancer and Capricorn. So you can be purging childhood-related dynamics, having wanted children, or wanting to birth new ideas moving forward. It can also be the balance and the disharmony between families and dynamics that have been long-standing and really coming up to the surface. And it can be something that on a tolerant level you had unknowingly so, perhaps swept it under the carpet like it was just a given. And now energetically, if you pause and actually are able to do the meditation on it, what you'll actually find is energetically, collectively, we're all experiencing this. We're looking at it and we're going, okay, the problem is with Neptune, delusions, you know, so it's like, is there the potential of the transformation in that area? And, you know, you've got to be gentle with yourself. And I do remember probably about a year ago to 2 years, you know, I'd been working with Jen and Luciana, who are subscribers on the channel. And working with other people, you always get something out of it. So you will help another, they will help you, and you learn from each other. It's the same in the twin flame path. It's the same through Ascension. Every person who comes into your life is energetically meant to be there, even at a lower frequency. The purge that's coming up, when you're triggered, be forgiving towards yourself. Create some space if you physically can. For a long time, probably over the last 3 days, I've been walking around with no shoes, and it's to anchor the energy in. And it's almost like the heat from the feet is actually requiring me to take the shoes off so that I can actually anchor my energy in. You can try the smudge sticks, the fluid. You'll find energetically when you're depleted, you're going to need to get some sleep, because the energy of the way you're going to handle the natural frequency, you may be very critical towards yourself, saying, am I handling this in a healthy fashion? I don't usually relate to this situation this way. A lot of the correlating energies I'm seeing is where perhaps you didn't get certain things and you felt that energy to be normal. And then you're having this epiphany in relation to it, and you're realizing that perhaps that could have been something you could have had, but you had actually lowered your standard unknowingly so, and it's coming out psychologically so for a purge. The healthy boundaries is massive at the moment in the collective, but it's energetically what you do find is as you ascend, you do descend and then ascend again. So it's this revolving door of a cycle. Some of you in the higher chakra may be feeling heat in the area. There could be heart palpitations. Again, a lot of heart chakra activation. It can be just all of a sudden, and it's naturally feeling like, well, obviously, if you think you're having a heart attack, dial 000 or 911. Do what you need to do. Be rational. But in an energetic level, when you're tuned into your body, there can be the palpitations. That, again, is correlating with the purge that we're physically having in relation to being able to be safe. And again, it is coming back to healthy boundaries, but it's due to the lower chakras. You're realigning yourself into the new frame of being, whatever that be, whatever's going on in your life. So it can be that you're getting to the point where you're going, okay, it's almost like negotiating with the terrorist. It's like, okay, and your heart is it, right? your heart's putting a protective wall up, and it's looking at the 3D reality scenario, and it's like, okay, I've invested X amount. I've been waiting for this harvest to grow, but I'm not really seeing it come. But does that mean it's not? Not necessarily, because illusions, delusions, Neptune. Yes, it is, but the highlighted frequencies are to be in your consciousness. So unfortunately, for certain pockets of you that have done the work, energetically you are getting bombarded by, you're more like a sponge. You're more inclined to be a sponge. So there can be a frequency where you're sensing other people's vibrations. It's almost like the Walking Dead. And the reason I say that is because I do find a correlation between movies and what naturally happens in time. It can transition over later in some sense of a metaphor. And it kind of is when you're not awoken and you're moving through the transition and you're none the wiser that you're the rescuer, you're codependent, or you're operating from a particular wavelength or frequency. The higher in elevation you go, the bigger the responsibility, because, and it's like you're battling with your mind. You're looking at it and you're going, I can see perhaps how this is going to go. I can see the 3D of my perspective of a reality from my experiences, what I've lived, which is very true. Energetically, some of you might be needing to have not only tolerance connected to the path you actually travel to Ascension and moving through those phases and having to purge. And 9 times out of 10, a lot of what the collective don't know, and that's if you're masculines. And look, it's not to say that a masculine can't hold the feminine frequency. Groups of you who are going through a transformation purged. There is a natural way of things dissolving out of your life. Now, we come to a place in life, and it's where we're starting to transform. And this is where the awakening state comes. And it can look like you're having midlife crisis. Let's just be honest. It can look like you're just disconnecting from things. It can be food. It can also be places, people, things. Your job will naturally fall about. But energetically, you've changed, but you're not allowing that change to happen. So what then happens is you're in a battle with your new energy. It's a bit like a walker. You energetically have changed, but you're not accepting the transformation because it's a bit like planet Uranus and Taurus. It doesn't feel comfortable. So for the masculine frequencies that are going through transformations, they're like, I have to change so much in a compressed space of time. Shit. This doesn't feel nice. And feminines are getting the download and the frequencies, and it's not nice. Now, picture your transformation. Then having transformed yourself and then going back down memory lane of that process again. That's what's going on. And then needing to either energetically have the download of the collective consciousness of how the transformation's going. You're transmuting that frequency, plus a lot of all your blocks and the things you left behind. You're looking at it and going, potentially, can I actually be in alignment with a whirlwind around me happening? Now, some downloads come in a sense of trying to be like a Buddhist monk as well as a samurai sword warrior, where there can be adversity happening around, and the meditation state has to come to the higher consciousness of where you can be still in a storm. There's great mastery that comes from that, and it does take time, but I'm feeling for particular pockets of people, the reality is when you're meditation is one thing. You can do this in your waking life. You don't have to do the, and you don't have to do this. It's everyone is unique in the way they do it. For one, it may be that you need to be in the garden, anchored in the fresh air, in peace and tranquility. The further up in stages you go, that's going to shift, and it's pretty crappy. It's a transformative state of tapping in and being able to anchor yourself back in adversity, and it increases. So a lot of the transformation of your ascension process and the reasons why you tend to retreat from people, and this is for masculines as well. So for those of you that are male, and you're going through a transformation and you're going, I'm not connecting with this friend group. I'm not connecting with this job anymore. But I know it could be some 3D situations happening in your life and you're going, but this job's not coming through for me, so I'm having to look elsewhere, but that's unsettling me. It could be that you're in a situation that has been stagnant and the same for a long time. You're outgrowing it, but you're hoping that you can continue that scenario. A person's personal transformation does come about, and this is a natural cycle that we go through when part of our life path is to be a certain way, and it can feel really yucky. So a lot or a pocket of people that went through this scenario did this over a state of time. Again, having a disconnection to things around you, number one. Then actually needing to release it. When you reach a point, you find energies around you, you repel it. Masculines are going through that aspect of understanding this, but energetically, if you directly are working with that, you're feeling that vibration, reliving that frequency, and assessing and having to go back down memory lane of your toxic cycle separately, of your experiences separately, and then processing that factor and releasing it. Like I said, a lot of sacral chakras coming up, a lot of solar plexus is coming up. Yeah, it's very, I had to resize it like 3 times, and then it's still a little bit loose, but I'm on an L, so I'm either a learner or a loser, but hey, we're going to go with learner right now, okay? Regardless, there is a lot of difficulty with your ascension and then getting to the space where you're watching that vibrational shift happen in another person in your life. And that can be your child, it can be your partner, it can be your twin, your soulmate, your mother, your father. And you're looking at it going, good God, because it's collective energy. Now, back to the astrology. And then I will pull some cards, but I think I need to do a separate read for that. You're probably looking at anywhere from the 1st to the 4th. There's a lot of psychoanalytical energy. There's a lot of thinking about things. What's going to happen? Where do we go from here? What is the reality of this situation? Are we actually seeing the reality of this? Now, we did experience the Mercury retrograde, and the shadow aspect of it is still here. It's heavier in frequency than the beginning stage. The 5th would have been, but from here in, for potentially a week, it's going to be heavy. It feels yucky. I am again sensing solar plexus and sacral chakra in trigger mode. And this is more than likely from those chakra points, the energy and the trigger points coming up in heart chakra. Of can I trust the journey when all I'm seeing is a delusion? Is this a mirage? Can I actually physically move forward? It can be conversations you're having with people. It can be outbursts you're having due to the fact that you are at a communication level, voicing your opinions in relation to these delusions, illusions, and hey, you're really needing a cemented reality. So it's the unsafety frequency, the lack of safety in that frequency that we're physically feeling. When it reaches the 5th, although the moon is going to be in Aries, this is where there is the void. Okay, so it's moving into Aries and we're having a void. During this time, what you'll find is, although it's masculine frequency, we have a lot of Mars energy coming through with this placement. So it's new, but it's going to be direct, assertive, and it can be aggressive. So it may be a very brutal movement forward. It might be something coming in at left field that you really weren't anticipating, and it's coming through very heavily so. There is an interesting transit in a way that things are moving. Let me explain it. We then move into a cycle for potentially 3 days. This is from the 6th to the 8th, where Mercury, in a positive sense, is going to be sextiling Saturn. So again, the movement forward through this transition from this week is going to loosen up and lighten up, but it's going to be direct. So you look at the aspects of what Saturn does. He's the father figure of the universe. Mercury, the movement forward, the longevity of the situation. How we're going to get there. We're moving direct. Things that weren't brought up and were reflected upon in the retrograde cycle, and now we're thinking about it and wanting to communicate it because it hasn't been finalised. So although they're working together, the throat chakra and universe, with us actually being direct with what we need to deal with, because we've got some BS we're dealing with, all of us collectively. What are we dealing with right now? How do we look at this? How do we be mature, compassionate, understanding? But what do we need to do to move forward? So this is a 3-day window. And it is really, at 1 degree, you're looking at is the starting point of what you need to kind of size out and out, cycle out. Then we have on the 9th of April, we have the Sun squaring Saturn. The moon at that point, it transitions over. It's going to be in Pisces. Again, that can be, don't believe everything you say. It's not really going to work together on that date. It's a key point day you need to be cautious with. So be careful. Your emotions could be running, you know, pretty high. You may get to a point you're frustrated. In this placement, what you find is it can be creative restrictions. It's going to be more hard work. It feels like you're going to have to push crap uphill. So it's not a great time to deal with any aspects of, hey, you know, can we be accountable? It may be outside of your control due to external factors. But the Aries frequency is going to be like, hey, I just want to be direct and get this done, but they're not going to be seeing eye to eye. So communication potentially may not be seeing eye to eye. Your path may not be as clear during that time. We then move on the same day. Venus will be conjunct Neptune. Now, again, in relation to what your heart wants and what's a figment of your imagination, you're working on that level and you're looking at it. Energetically, to deal with it, because of Saturn squaring the Sun, you might find that you can't do anything about it, but you're reflecting about it and you're looking at the reality. You're looking at what is a delusion and what is a reality. What do you want? Can you get there? Is it attainable? And what do you need to do to make that come about? Again, some of these energies are very temporary, where it's a meditated state. So I would strongly suggest on the 9th, do that. Don't try and take direct action. Experience the frequency. Assess the situation. Don't get to a point where you go, good God, it's never going to happen, because the placement with the frequency of the delusions, it's wrapping that energy up and deciphering the codes. Okay, what is, what isn't? And obviously with Pisces and the placement of where Venus is going to be with Neptune, don't be gullible during this time. You know, it can be, you need to get more information before you make an executive decision. Almost like Mercury retrograde, I'd say. Where have I got to? 10th. We have Mercury sextiling Pluto. Again, communication in relation to what needs to end, what needs to begin. If you can regenerate something, it's going to go better. Again, it is a new beginning point at 1 degree. So it's the baby steps in the movement forward. Venus on the same day will be conjunct Neptune. Really looking at that area. And again, it is, you're working on it. You're trying to sift through what's real and what's not. So again, I'm seeing people getting information coming towards them. I'm seeing as though, you know, pay attention to distortion. You know, if you're not getting enough information, pause. Don't make any rash decisions. We've also got Mercury squaring Jupiter. Now, these planets, I haven't mentioned this, and I have in the other videos. We've got Mercury going probably out of its shadow aspect to direct by about first week. You might have a residue of that after. We then have Jupiter retrograde. We also have Pluto retrograde and Saturn on the same month. So energetically, the things I'm mentioning are very separate to those retrogrades, but correlating in with the month. So it is quite an energetic month in a sense of transformations. They do deem this as a karmic cycle. Anything that's coming up was already there. It's just the reflective state of seeing things and how to directly deal with it is coming to a confrontational head. So Mercury squaring Jupiter, it's not a comfortable placement. Again, it does restrict you. So on April the 11th, you're going to experience that frequency with wanting to get things off the ground. It's not a great time to launch creative projects. It can mean that maybe planning in a sense, but implementing may be a little bit difficult because it can be very restrictive. Again, you'll have to work really hard. Anything you work towards during those transits, just be more in your conscious mind. So when you see the aspects of the squaring, even on the 9th in which I warned you, if you're coming from your higher consciousness and you know, look, there's probably more information that's going to come, you might need to work a little bit harder. You still can apply your energy, and it doesn't mean, hey, doom and gloom, disaster's going to come. Be in your consciousness and have your toolkit. I mean, I try as well to deal with red means stop. Green means meditate. Think about that before you blow your lid. And green means proceed, deal with it, right? So the yellow can actually be with the traffic light to actually, you know, think in your mind, reflect, think about how you're going to deal with the situation and then react. In a heavy cycle, if you have been feeling energetically things are coming to a head, you can't help it. It is what it's going to be. You can do what you can to implement things to help you. I do truly believe everything is energetically, like it's divinely guided. So if a tower moment comes or something needs to be addressed or there are harsh words, obviously we try to operate from our highest frequency, but we're human as well. We're having a humanistic experience from a spiritual 5D experience. So it's like we can become quite judgmental to ourselves when we're going through this transformation. We're not perfect, okay? Okay, so we've mentioned the 11th, and that's Mercury squaring Jupiter. Any creative projects is going to be more difficult. So it can be that you're wanting to move house, or you're wanting to launch a project or a business, or you grow emotionally in a connection. It's going to take a little bit more work. But with Pluto, you're going to be more direct in knowing at that point, on that date, what you do need to end, how, and it can be what's not fitting. Look at this month as a jigsaw puzzle. Okay, does that fit? No. Okay, what's squaring? Let's just sit back and think about this. We need a little bit more information to put this puzzle together again. When it's working together, you'll get the downloads. When it's squaring and it's like sort of getting to the point they're not working together, it's a solution. You're just not seeing it that way. So look at the universe as a mathematical equation of educating you non-verbally. Try and look at the paradigms of, okay, the vibrations are heavy. It feels very dense 3D energy at the moment, but they're going to give you some solutions to help you work through this. You can only do what's on your side of the fence. We can lead a horse to water, we can't make a drink, and that's towards ourselves as well. Okay, we then are going through a transit where we do have Venus sextiling Saturn on the 12th. Again, you're going to know what you need to do to change situations, either at a romantic level, could be with a karmic frequency, whatever it be. You're going to look at your relationships more accountably, everyone collectively. You're going to look at what you're investing in more collectively and rationally. Pluto on the 13th is squaring the sun. This energetically is going to be complicated. So your ego mind may come into what's real, what's not. What do I end? What do I start? There can be panicked frequency in relation to this. Overall, with the energies, I'd say the areas you'd need to be cautious around would probably be from the 16th through past the 21st. That is the void effect. The energy is going to be around that time as well. There is the moon in Scorpio. That's going from 8 degrees, and the next day it's moving to the 20-degree mark. Now, Scorpio frequency can be quite a harsh energy for the moon to transition through. So potentially those dates, be cautious, be self-aware. So when I'm saying cautious, you can't wrap yourself in bubble wrap. I mean, I wouldn't promote that. You know, a fluffy baby blanket, that would be nice, especially since we're going through a lot of purge of base chakra, solar plexus, sacral chakra. You can do it. Okay, you can do it. Are there any questions while I'm here? We do have Saturn retrograde for potentially, I think it's 4 to 5 months. Don't quote me. I'll have to look back on that. It's going to be interesting. Yeah, well, I have, since I've reconciled with Twin, it's been an interesting transition getting the new routine. You know, his life, my life, and molding things in. A bit like I mentioned, you know, puzzles, okay, that doesn't mean, yeah, we'll try this. And everyone does this. It is a very changing time collectively as well. So it's not just a connection you may have, it's your own life and it's your schedule. So obviously my commitment to YouTube, to my family, to, you know, my own life, I'm reshifting that and it's forever changing. And that's very much what happens being psychic, you know. The downloads you get energetically will happen beforehand. You tend to go through that vibration. So if it looks like I've dropped off the grid, I'm having an upgrade and I'm going through a purge. And it's, hi Diane, so it's so that I can explain to you guys what's going on. So I physically lift the energy, do the purging process, get the downloads. A lot of songs are coming through. So individually, you guys will get songs in relation to messages from the universe. They will be uniquely to you. The number 7 has been coming up in relation to this month. It will be very relevant. There's also the energy coming through of songs that I've heard. Cody Ugly, I keep hearing this song. I'm gonna get you. That's the part of the lyrics that keeps coming through. And the other one, and again, it was Prince, but not the one that you heard, Carmen, a different song. What was it? Let me think. There was a Prince song, and it was My Mother's Never Satisfied. Why do we scream at each other? This is what it sounds like when doves cry. That kept coming through, that point in the lyric, nothing else. And it's, you know, Ascension's painful. I'll be honest. Because it's the purge that we're having to find that peace, which is directly connected to our spiritual path, you know. Uranus and Taurus, it's like to ascend to that level and have what you want. What are the sacrifices you're going to have to make? Theoretically, one shouldn't tune into that, but we're human, we're in the 3D realm. So it's like we're bouncing back and forth between dense energy in the 3D and very high energy of knowing that, hey, we manifest. 144 is very much correlating to just before you reach union. So you generally see that it can be as long or as short as you need to see it. And the 7 is correlating to everything you directly are doing right now. You are on the correct path. The people, the places, the issues, it's all the right shit for the mix, okay? It looks like a shit show. It's a batshit soup, but it's perfect. It's the perfect amalgamation to make the volcanic activity to change. Look at it as seismic change. You may have energy shifts environmentally. Let's look at Neptune again. They're telling me to look at Neptune. Collectively, you might find coming through in government and departments as such that might be making emotional-based decisions, may not be looking at the situation potentially quite clear. There can be changes in that energy, though. There can be swaps in people in Parliament all of a sudden where they shift. A lot of ocean-related dynamics when it does come to pollution, etc. That might be coming back up on the agenda. Even with the nodes being in Cancer and Capricorn, a lot of what you'll find is there is family dynamics coming up, childhood-related dynamics, accountability, legislation, court, legality, spiritual contracts, all of these things through the whole year are coming up. Energetically, you find Neptune is directly connected to the underworld and the ocean. You do tend to find during eclipses it will be higher in energy. But you'll find through this whole year it will be very high on the agenda. You'll find more about 5 days before the full moon and 5 days after, generally dependent upon what is going on. Neptune is, you know, present with us at the moment. So what you'll find is, especially in, you know, an element of water, with the moon energy, it becomes heightened. And so the underworld comes up. So you're more inclined to have earthquakes, again, potential tsunamis. Pay attention to your weather. You know, I lived on a farm for years, and there was a time when we had no television, and we just reshifted our energy onto working. So it was working on the farm, doing homeschooling. We were very busy. The days felt longer, but you were energetically present. The one thing I noticed is we became so codependent on turning the news on and having the download as to, okay, this is what they've told me is going to happen, so that's what's happening. And it's like we've detached from our senses. So for 3 years being in Europe, what I did find is I connected in with my sensory system, and I naturally knew when a shift was happening, and that could be with an earthquake, it could be with my sinuses would become congested. You would feel the density of the humidity, so I'd always know that when the humidity was high by my breathing and my senses, and you'd know when a storm was coming. I had people come over from Australia when I was in Cyprus, and they visited the village girls, and I looked over and I said, we need to, and it's a bit like an Australian saying, we need to batten down the hatches, Marge. So we put everything away, and they're looking at us very strangely. What are you doing? And we're saying there's a storm coming. And sure enough, there was a storm. But you tune into your senses. So if you see plants acting strange and they're fruiting, I have a passion fruit vine. It's already fruited. Yes, there's always a potential of a second batch. This is very late in the season for it to be fruiting. The foliage, in fact, has increased more than it has through the whole season, and there's larger batches of the fruit on the tree already. It has become quite tropical at the moment. So you'll start seeing more tropical-related insects. Our planet is changing. By paying attention to this, you can navigate your safety. It's rational behaviour. But yes, there are energies changing. I am potentially seeing energies coming at left field connected to, and I don't like tuning into it, but with a lot of my downloads of what I picked up, what I am sensing is when you tune into a particular energy, and it's a nagging energy, one could say, oh my gosh, have I actually purged this? It can also be a download of a warning. One thing that's coming quite clearly through is energetically, there are issues with external situations coming to a head that are coming to a blow-up state. That's separate to your life external, okay? That is coming in during the month. Yeah, I'll say that much. I don't want to say the K word, but, you know, I'm trying to remove that word from my vocabulary because it's very interesting. I very, very rarely talk in relation to karmic frequency. And karmic can be anything. It can be a cycle and a lesson you need to learn. It can be a direct person in association with the soulmate, twin flame. However it directly relates in your life, it could be a financial kind of decision you made that it was something that you needed to purge and learn. Karmic on all levels, good and bad. There is a frequency here at a detachment process that is happening and a rejigging of the puzzle, a bit like earthquake. So you might be even picking up energetically, psychically earthquake frequency, either in the 3D or physically, like, you know, in the spiritual realm. The shift and the breakage in the crust, so to speak, of life is correlating with what needs to be shifted to be put back together again. So it's some energies are things were broken and you go back to have an assessment state. Can this be fixed, shoved back together? And there you go, it's back. And then it's like, no, it's still not working. And then you go off and you do that. And you're like, hey, that's really strange. I did that with you. And now I'm doing this over here on my own. Everything external to you will be mirrored to you. And then they will experience it and it will be shifted so you can gain each other's perspective. It's to purge processes. This is a time when you're cutting cords of the old and moving forward. And it feels yucky. You had a lizard. Well, that will directly correlate with you. That will be the energy for you. It'll be the colors. It'll be the environment. It'll be the thing you thought about at the time. It will all correlate with what is relevant to what you're dealing with in the 3-day. Yeah. But yes, you'll continue. You'll find that numbers will drop off on a spiritual path, and they'll lie down to 111, 1111, 11, or 44411. And they'll stay like that now and then, but more to tell you on the right path. It'll be, maybe it's your energy of how you're feeling about your life as the hunter and gatherer, the victim, the perpetrator. It depends on the color of the cat, I guess. Yeah, I have had that too. And it is because it's similar to the rabbit, chasing the rabbit down the rabbit hole. And again, what do mice do? They eat crumbs. It's like we're looking at it and we're going, okay, delusions, illusions. Are we going to eat crumbs? Can we have them my meal? Can I have like a steak dinner or a vegetarian surprise? Hi. You've been saying 12s. Well, that's fairly normal too. You'll find as you're reaching closer to communication, it will drop off altogether. And again, it does correlate with your part of your journey. Don't think that because one twin's dealt with something a certain way, you're going to. There's general synchronicities. There's a general patterning, which is to do the work on yourself. But there's also other elements that can fast track you, give you signs and synchronicities. Okay, golden, white, cat, and birds, all different colours. Well, you need to look at cat totem, the cat's hunt. I think towards a process of my ascension, I ended up seeing a lot of black panthers. And I don't know how I did forget, but I did forget. My twin had a black panther tattooed on the shoulder. And then it came to me during this song, and there was one, it was The Weekend, and there was a song about a black panther. There was Janet Jackson, black cat, and I just kept seeing this black cat. Again, the gold can be connected to the crown chakra, the energy of what the animal symbolizes, and then the birds in relation to, each bird has its own symbol. I did see several owls, moving into tapping into April's energy. That is about, your higher consciousness, seeing things in the day and night mode, the moon energy, the higher intuition. I have a real... It's funny, a lot of expectations have been coming up, and it's so strange. It's almost like people that have done work on themselves. It's really an interesting frequency. So it's sort of like you're saying, but I didn't get this, and I've been, how do I explain it? You can't fix what another person's accountability is, but you've got to sit back and ask yourself, is this about the children or is it about you? Or like I said, the notes in Cancer are all about family at the moment. But we all do, we're human. And that's the funny thing, the spiritual world it does preach great things, but it also does make us super critical towards ourselves as human beings. We're allowed to have needs. Expectation is, hey, I know you're going to be here at 4:30. I mean, my twin was busy working, and I was like, I'm not used to this. And I was like, because we're not codependent. We do our own thing. But then it's getting a little bit late, and I'm like, he's coming over. Dinner's going to be ready. But I was cooking pizza, man. It's only going to take 15, 20 minutes. And I mean, if I had waited an hour and a half, that thing would have been mute. So let's just be realistic, right? So it's not an expectation. It's a 3D scenario that needs to be dealt with. Do you want a nuked piece of pizza? I mean, you can make you a nuked piece of pizza if you want it. So it's not expectations. You have there is an understanding, and you learn to deal with a person at any level. This can be an ex, it can be your children. There's particular needs you have, or there is a demeanor you are. And when people get to know you, they know these things. If they're asking you to shift because they energetically can't shift and you're overcompensating for that other person, that's where the frustration's coming from. Okay? So again, communicate, and you can't make up for what another person can't do. So don't beat yourself up. You are entitled to have your own life, to do your own thing, but even when you're in a partnership, to be your own frequency, have your own hopes and dreams, have your own needs, you know, where, hey, that's my benchmark. This is sort of my likes and dislikes. And it's not if you love me, you'll do this. No, these are my needs. This is my benchmark. And it's not, hey, you don't make the cut if you don't do that. No, I understand, but they're my preference. Do you get what I'm saying? I don't. Okay, I feel like yeah. It could be connected to childhood as well. I did some inner child work this morning. Anywhere connected to what's happened in my life, and there was a purge for me because I really had to look at my childhood. And I've done a lot of work on these areas. I'm like, shit, why is this coming up again? Every person does the best they can in life. That's the reality. Did I get everything that spiritually I feel now energetically I am worthy of? No, I didn't. Not at all. And that actually, for a while there, it did take me back to a state of anger. And obviously, when you've been working on yourself, you do become quite critical towards yourself. And you're like, crap, have you done the work? You know, why are you feeling anger? Why are you feeling resentment? Why are you feeling sadness? It's because when you're purging something, it's because you've had an epiphany. And in that epiphany, it's super sad to go, wow, I've had a light bulb moment. And those energies, to reflect upon them is an aspect of the purge, and it is heart chakra, because you do, some of you might have dealt with very heavy energy for years and really didn't have the feeling that you were allowed to ask for help in certain areas. So you overcompensated for other people, which was the codependent pattern, because it was like, hey, I've never got it, so why ask? There's no point, right? A lot of you might be thinking, especially connected to your path, well, it's never been so. So can it be so? It can be, but it's the fear about having to open up. And then the sadness isn't even about your spiritual path anymore. It's about the people before who never gave that to you. There were times I would put my hand in my pocket and I would give to my family, or give to my friends, and I'd give to X, Y, and Z. And it was Jen who said to me, hey, do you know to receive? And I went, what? No. And she's like, yes, I'm going to teach you a lesson you're going to receive. It felt awkward because the energy I had learned in the past was, if I give you something, I'm manipulating you. And that energetically correlate with twin flame path as well. So they would have had that energy as well in their life where that happened to them. So we project that towards each other. So you've got to learn those things. So then the regression back is like the little mouse in the house spiraling back down, and you're looking at it. I might have felt, unworthy in areas, unloved in particular areas, let down by particular people, overburdened by other people's lack. That's okay. I'll pop you up. And after a while, that service tray gets bloody heavy, and you're going, you know what? My freaking cup's spent. I'm tired. It's give. And then people's expectation really wasn't an expectation, because it was a belief system of an expectation. Because an expectation is, you do that, and you're like, yeah, I'll do that. Okay? Codependent pattern. Can you do that for me? Well, let me think about that. How often did you do that? How often did you pause and actually reflect back? Okay, is that in a comfortable realm of what I feel is okay? No. Well, can you say no? The big word no. You don't have to be mean, but you will find lower frequency energies, people that are used to having their own way, which has been an ongoing pattern. You shifted your energy, and then through your awakening, you ascended your energy, and it's like they're trying to take you back down that rabbit hole. And you go, but I can't be that old person. And then the hurts come up from the past. Then reflecting on where you have felt let down due to the fact that you ask for help and it's not given. Reflect back on how many people have done that to you. And again, it is very similar to me, very much collective energy. Our safety. You look at the soul. Where is it? Solar plexus. Imbalances, misuse of power, lack of direction, excessive control. It's a yin and yang. The sacral chakra is a yin and yang frequency, okay? The give and take in life. When we feel unworthy, we're like, no, there's a rule here. I've got to give you something or you're going to manipulate me. And I don't want you to do that. So it can go on both sides. But when you're like, look, I would really like a piece of Shelley's cake. Happy birthday to Shelley's beautiful daughter, Giggle Glimmer. Happy Mother's Day, lady. But I'm in Australia and she's over there. And I want it in 2.5 seconds. And Shelley then be's honest to me. Oh, look, I'd really like to help you there, but I think it'll be stale by the time it gets on the plane. It's realistic. It's just being rational with certain things. But it's retraining us, because what happens is they were saying every name holds a vibration. Now, in a theoretical level, if you were to change your name, it doesn't hold that new vibration right away. It can take 40 days. But you would have to write that name repetitively to imprint it, so to speak. Similar to when we're making statements in relation to our future, it's always going to be, and as many people say, including Giggle, nothing's ever that consistent. It's not. So always is not real, okay? At this point in the universe, the sun always rises. But again, life isn't consistent. Universe can change. Sun, moon can change location, energy. You get my gist. At this point in time, it's where things are. It's temporary. But the solar plexus and the sacral chakra, because of wounding connected to that area and people really not doing the right thing by you, but you feeling that's all you're worth, then the anger comes out where it's the purge. It's because you're balancing that chakra. You're healing the past wounds. So it is a lot of, and trust me, I totally relate to what you're saying. I mean, I raised my daughter predominantly on my own. And I think through my twin flame path, yes, okay, I had a marriage and that was a supportive section. But there were times where energetically I didn't ask for help from DNA father. And that was a me problem. But because I was conditioned to believe that was my obligation, it was my responsibility, I did have a very strict energy on my shoulders. And again, I didn't reach out for particular individuals to help. But then when I tried to swap it where I did, it was like, what's your problem? Do you not have your life together? So it was high expectations, you know, really, really high expectations on me to remain balanced, perfect, keep the shit together when I'm human. So I became very harsh on my energy and then directly attracted that frequency constantly. So the purge correlating with that is very relevant. I've got 2 kids, one to an alcoholic and one to my TF. What would you like to know? Well, we can't, it's hard. Look, there are some relationships, and I'll just be honest, and that's probably because the nodes in Cancer and Capricorn there. My childhood was not perfect, but it wasn't terrible either. And I know there's always somebody who's worse off than me. I've seen relationships where there are bed of roses and they're perfect the whole way through. In common day these days, although there's nothing traditional these days, we are having split families. That's a reality. there is times when two parties cannot physically work together. Now, and I even have this discussion with my daughter. There's the energy you'll have with the father, the energy you'll have with the mother. Not every family's built that way. We've got IVF these days, for goodness sakes, okay? Interesting. Anyway, so you've got two individuals. Now, they split. But you got the commonality of the children, right? So you got the children, smack bang pig in the middle. And then you could potentially add another person to that mix. Okay, and this is my twin flame journey at the moment. This is where I'm at. And, you know, kids smack bang in the middle. And then, you know, they could have a partner, or they could be the mother, they could be the father, and, you know, vice versa, you name it. So you've got this, we each need our fence, right? You are always going to be the mother and father. Mothers and fathers need to understand this. You cannot make up for that person's shit. You can't. Yes, your children will suffer, but they will suffer more if you're pretending to be more than you actually are. I wanted a perfect childhood. I didn't have a perfect childhood, okay? But what I learnt from that imperfect childhood got me to where I am today. If we look at our children as, I would bring my daughter home after a weekend and she would come home and I knew her behaviour would be different. And it's like, okay, you'll just brace yourself. And then the clean-up effect of that would be, give her the grace of 24 hours. She's going to be mean to mum. She's going to be hypers, happy. He probably, you know, doped her up on chocolate just to piss mum off, as they do, you know, good old exes. And then you're going back and then you do it. And it's like, try and keep it clean. Try and keep it nice. And then you know that your routine at your home is your roof. That's all you can cover. And if that means your kids are coming to you and going, you know what, I'm really upset about this. You know, I want dad to be X, Y, and Z. I can really understand. How does that make you feel? You know, and you talk to them. You will have two options to deal with this here. You can't take on what mum or dad didn't do. You can't fix that. It's the reality. Let it go. It theoretically is the past, but it will also mirror your childhood. Look at your childhood and don't overcompensate for what you lacked, okay? You might have looked at your childhood and gone, crap, I've got to overcompensate. I'm not going to be like my mum and dad. You're not your mum and dad, okay? You're not your mum and dad. Stop correlating that crap with your mum and dad. We all do that. You are your own energy. You take on aspects of what your mother trained you, aspects of what your father trained you, aspects of your opinion of your mother and father. It's reality. We're conditioned. Then sit there and question, okay, who am I as a parent? There is not one parent on this planet who's right or wrong. Get over it. There's not even the lowest of opinion-related frequency. You're still mum, you're still dad. It's completely it. The funny thing is, in the twin flame journey, especially for the second wave, this is one of the largest areas that is really the hardest part. It's the hardest part because you don't want, and even not being, you don't want your children to hurt, but you've got to get out of your bloody heads. You can't make up for a mother or a father, but you can be there for your child. And so one day, if they're coming every weekend, every second weekend, whatever that be, whatever your normal be in that connection, you can be you and you're consistent. But don't overcompensate and be consistent for another person because you can't keep it up. You're going to be like back and forth and go, and then who are you going to be to that person? Oh, I'm learning that mum or dad jumps and does anything I want, so I don't have to feel that emotion. So you've actually assisted with that child detaching from the reality of what they're actually living. They will form their opinion. They will form their peace. They will form their clarity. You can be that support and light to them, but you can't make the world perfect. And if you're sweeping it under the carpet and overcompensating and bouncing back and forward, you can't keep that up forever. And at some point, what will happen is it will exhaust you, number one, and it will stop them from forming tools in life. How do you know that they didn't choose this life for that to be? Because we choose our parents, right? They chose for this situation to come, and it was to liberate you, to accept yourself and be forgiving to yourself, that you are strong, feminine or masculine, whoever you are, and that we can be soul parents and have loving homes, and we can be open to new energies coming in. But unless we can make peace with our past, we won't have room for the twin flame to come in, because they won't make room. There's this side of the fence, there's that side of the fence. There's history that will be there forever. But the new comes in, and that's a reality. Shit does change. If you're trying to hold on so tightly to it that you feel there's no, even if that person's a high vibration soulmate and their father and a temporary separated, but your hopes are you're going to get back together. By you making peace with that is anchoring that in. By you being in pain body mode, connected to them and transmuting their frequency, you're keeping it where it is. As soon as you can shift your vibration, it balances out where it needs to be. Does that make sense? Yeah, just don't be so hard on yourself. Understand that if they're let down, hear them out. Understand if it turns to shit and dad's letting them down or mum's letting them down, you can't do anything about it. And it's not like our lives were perfect and did it break us. I mean, hey, I would have loved to have gone to rap concerts and things like that. I mean, I wore Kmart jobbies for my shoes, and my daughter wears Nikes. TNs. Pretentious. And I'm like, I said to you, you better have a good job, love, because I've detached, like, clearly, I mean, right? I've detached from that. It does not define me. It doesn't define me, but that is an upgrade. That's who I am. I've done my work and I'm looking and going, it's just a bloody shirt. It's a hat. I've got stilettos. I haven't worn them in a few years. Well, on this side, I know the same thing as what you're feeling. How does that work with parents that were abusive to children but now deceased? Did we choose that journey? It might have been a past life-related energy. It potentially could have been. I mean, I channeled for a person at one stage, and it was the oddest of channel. And they were stuck in a cycle. What, are you joking? Whatever floats your boat at 5,000 a pair. I mean, hey. Things do happen for a reason. And, you know, there was a reader on YouTube that was talking about it. We can't control what happens in the universe, right? So even if we're wanting answers from the universe and it doesn't make sense, sometimes shit just happens. But if we keep looking over it, right? Are we living it still? We are, because we're back there. And we can't fix it. But we can change the new version of the story with the person or with another person or with our story moving forward. But if we're living there, there's something that needs to be looked at in it. Yeah, it's hard, but sometimes it can be due to past life scenarios or other things. Are you serious? Okay. My life path number makes me to detach from finances and that. So, yeah, I've had an interesting life. Anyway, this is getting super long. People won't watch it. Thank you for listening. I will come back a little bit later, or, yeah, if I'm alive, tonight. Yeah, but there is a lot of rejigging when it does come to healthy boundaries. Yeah, it's like, especially for, look, feminines or masculines, if you guys are being soul parents, it's a very hard job. It's hard enough being a parent. And you might have had a pretty shitty life as well, and you're looking at it going, man, I've had a pretty crappy life, and now I've been shoved with single, and I don't even think desperate and dateless would be on your agenda. It's like, I've got these kids, and it's like I have no support, and I'm trying to worry about finances, the roof, their safety, their warmth, and what about my spiritual path? And that's the struggle, you know. It's really, really hard. But remember yourself. Don't try and be two people. and have some time for yourself now and then. Hear them out, but hear yourself out as well. You know, self-love does come down to, how do you feel about it? How is it making you feel separate to the children? How is it making you feel with the children? How is it making you feel in relation to the person? There's various perspectives, but you've got to acknowledge yourself. Oh man, I think I mentioned this last year, and I think I'm having a deja vu on it. I mean, I permanently have had that mirror stuck to my head that I feel it's turned into like a bugola. It's like, Yildiz. It's like, if I have to look at the frigging mirror anymore, I totally believe. I listened to a video the other day and it was talking about ascension and awakening. And I thought to myself, it's so true what this reader said. Anyone who's gone through an aspect of a Kundalini awakening wishes they could go back, because once you're awoken and you're looking at things, you're like, I feel like I'm in a movie. It's a bit like LMAFO, right? And every day we're shuffling and you're looking at it and they're like, what's going on there? And everyone's in zombie mode and they're busting and moving. You go, put your headphones in, Matt, because the energy of what you sense is vibrations, frequencies. You sense it, you smell it, you absorb it. It's so heavy. Okay, once you've awoken, you're looking at people like, do you know what like channel you're operating from? And then you're like, oh, I feel like I'm living through Groundhog Day. It is seriously not fun. Let the house go to shit. Put on your sloppy joes. Hey, you know, sometimes you've got to be immature about it and be really fun. The other day, I walked into the kitchen and my daughter was hoo-haing, I need this, I need that. I mean, she's 15. So I got her Nutella jar out and I started eating it out of the jar and I had it all over my face. I'm like, really? So do I. And she's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm a big kid too, you know. I've got some needs. I mean, my twin walked in the kitchen the other day and I said, I remember a time when we were transitioning and it was, you know, where your frequency at? And I was like, and I said, now I want to be a brat. I just want to be a brat. And I started throwing a sponge on the floor. I threw mascara on the floor and I started jumping up and down. And he's like looking at me going, what are you doing? You have to sometimes take the playful approach. We might not be able to energetically change some 3D situations at the moment, but they are changing. Even ones you feel are virtually impossible. Give it to universe to give you a hand. It can be magically you get a babysitter out of nowhere. Magically you get another flatmate, or there could be something out of left field. Don't tune into it. Trust. But taking a light approach and doing things, have a food fight if you need to. Do something to make your life slightly immature so you don't have to be mature. Does that make sense? Get your playful on. If you have to have a flower fight, have a flower fight. I dipped my hair in flour when my mum was at the farm one time. We had the big barrels of them. And we saw my mum coming in. My sister and I, 2 years apart, we were having a massive flower fight. And we looked and we saw her coming in. Like, my family was like strict. Do your chores, do your cleaning up. Next thing you know, she's coming down. And the only thing we could think of was dip the hair in the water. We didn't realise how much flour was in the hair, and it turned to bread dregs. Sometimes you just got to have some fun, okay? Yes, and I did feel that way this week, love, too. I actually looked at parenting, co-parenting. But hey, be in awareness and know your limits. And if you need a break, you know, you need a break, doll. And just always, there is no shame or harm in it. Always be honest with yourself, because then you're taking accountability for you. You're being honest with it. Reach out to your family, reach out to your friends, and do what you feel you need to do. Last year, definitely, I did have a lot of the emergency numbers. I don't have them up at the moment. I'll try and remember to put it up here. But there is a point in astrology where things do get pretty heavy. And April, unfortunately, is feeling that. We're exhausted. I was like, you know what, I'm getting old. I'm too old for this shit. It's the ascension. It's the transformation. It's the rolling up bloody hill. And then, oh, God, we're rolling back again, yeah? Friends, you have us. You have us. I feel your pain. My twin has 5 children and I've got a daughter too. He's a big kid too. Love and light. Go and knock on the neighbour's door. I've got a neighbour and I hadn't talked to her for ages. I knocked on the door. I'm like, I need to know somebody. Yeah, now we have coffees together. Oh, look. I'll come back again, my word to you, okay? It will be this week. It could even be tonight. I think when I go through an energy update, you know, what tends to happen is I get very fatigued. And then I have my upgrade energetically, my downloads. And then I'm like, right, we need to look at the aspects of the astrology. Whatever does come up is to change things, okay? It's not to make it worse, it's to make it better. Reach out. Even if your friend's going on holiday, be honest to her. Hey, what's crazy these days, right? Aren't we feeling semi-crazy? We'd feel normal, right? Because we're all feeling like we're going that way at the moment. That's what I'm saying. What are expectations? What's real? What's traditional these days? I mean, I was looking at co-parenting with, you know, exes and how to balance that out, where your fence is, where their fence is. And I was like, man, this is too fucking hard. I'm just saying. And I was like, you know what? Universe, take the steering wheel. Organic ones, I hope, medicinal. Yeah. Love and light, guys. I will try and remember to put the emergency number up. Otherwise, anyone who is visiting this channel, feel free to put that on there. And if you are needing help, reach out, okay? Don't be alone. Call your friend. Even if they're going on holiday, just call them. It makes no difference. Yep. Anyway, if you are needing a booking, you can go to the link below. If you don't know, yes, I am a psychic medium and I am a twin flame. In union at the moment. For a union, what you want to call it. So if you are wanting a booking, you can go to the link. If you're wanting to refer back to any of the videos, I have twin flame videos on the channel, as well as the general and love reads for single and couple. So they're there, and hopefully I can do mid-month. I'm plowing along and I'm going to get into the next months as well. Love and light. I'll do the twin flame video soon for the collective masculine and feminines.